Edit. Edit. What's wrong with my snap? Edit. 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 Hey everybody, it's Yusuf Crow and Rusty for CraftyAcuity.org, yusuf.crow@gmail.com for commissions. How's everybody doing? I finally got out of Inktober. I finally get a chance to redo the Inktober stuff in the way I want to, and you know what it is this week? That's right, it's Invader Zim. If you haven't watched that cartoon, you should definitely check it out. It's twisted in a very interesting way. The Yonan Vasquez guy, the guy that made the cartoon, basically made a comic book called Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. And a lady at a party that I recently went to informed me. Basically, he made the comic book that was so edgy and so crazy that once people got a wind of the comic book that he made, it ultimately spelled the doom of his cartoon show, which was excellent. And I didn't even know about it because I didn't watch Nicktoons, after they did the whole Doug thing. But a few people that I respect as nerds have that DVD for all the episodes, and I definitely checked them out. I mean, my mom likes the show, and she's like, "You don't know about Invader Zim?" Oh, okay, I'll check it out. The tutorial today is using the Gaussian blur, the Gaussian blur. The Gaussian blur is basically a blur tool inside the layer tab on the top. Once you click the layer tab, you have a whole bunch of options. There's an option to blur, and they have a whole bunch of different types of blurs, motion blur, and all that. I never really use any of them except for motion blur and Gaussian blur, because with the motion blur, you can blur something in a specific direction. The Gaussian blur, you can blur everything, but you can have control over how much you blur your picture. So when you use the Gaussian blur, you can use the blur and the sharpen to make something sharp that you want to be in the foreground, that you want to be the focus of your picture or your artwork, and then the blur to make it seem like something's in the background of your artwork. And a lot of people have been doing that lately, especially in the art community, I guess. Well, people who do paintings just kind of paint. They don't fully render the backgrounds, and that way, if they render the foreground really detailed, then you get the idea that whatever is in focus is in focus. Now, I'm going to start trying to play with that a little bit more with a couple of pieces of artwork that I did that, try to reinforce this technique, so you'll see me doing it a couple of times in the next few pieces of artwork. The trick I used on this one specifically was that I made 2 layers of background. So the first background and the second background were completely the same. And then I took the first layer and I blurred it, and the second layer I left normal. And I used the eraser tool and then used the soft eraser pen or whatever to kind of softly erase the parts that I didn't want to be blurred. So it'll look like in the foreground everything is in focus, and then as you go to the background, it'll leave focus. I did that specifically because the picture was a little busy, and Invader Zim kind of fell into the background. He looked a little flat, even after I added the lighting effects and the shading on the bottom. You still couldn't really see him, so I had to make sure that the vanishing point thing really worked out for the best. I'm proud of it, and I made it as a desktop, so if you want to download it, you can definitely go to CraftyAcuity.org or whatever, my DeviantArt page, and you can totally download that desktop. If you like it, please use it in good health. Totally enjoyed making it. It took like 8 hours of me staring at a screen and not being sure of what to do. It was quite fun. So the video blog today is about nerd awkwardness. It has to do kind of with harassment, and I want you to hear me out. I'm not gonna say that women are wrong about complaining about street harassment and stuff like that. It's a total real thing. It's horrible. I don't think that it should happen on any level. Okay, so I just want to get that clear. That's my disclaimer. All right. However, what I do want to talk about is when I was younger, I was kind of a nerd, and I was by myself, just like a lot of artists. And I had a few friends, but only a couple that I really could get with. And there's a social awkwardness that goes along to being a nerd and being alone that leads to arrested development when it comes to the ladies. But if it wasn't for my drive to try and understand a lot of things, then I wouldn't have gone the extent trying to understand women and sociology, a lot of things like that, a lot of psychological things that most people don't think about. And I'm just saying, if you're a person who's a nerd, or you're a hipster or something like that, and you fall in with a group of nerd friends, and there is a guy in your friend group, or maybe a few of them, that just, they don't know how to talk to women, they don't know how to do things properly. Let that person know, cite a book for them to read, ask them to be a more appropriate person, because a lot of times, especially with nerd culture, we write off other nerds because we just don't want the backlash of having to deal with somebody if they don't feel like they're weird. However, you at least need to give them a chance to be something better than that. You need to let them know, or else you're perpetuating the whole nerd culture thing. You can't be upset because the nerd isn't fully sociable in all the right ways. That's the whole definition of being a nerd, is that you don't have that sociable aspect. And I mean, some nerds are jerks, okay? Some nerds are jerks. They're upset because, they weren't the alpha dog in their high school and stuff, and then they got older and they become more and more alpha, and they start going crazy. However, some people just don't know. And for other nerds to condemn nerds for not knowing stuff is just, it's so counterintuitive. So, keep that in mind. I totally, my wife, I totally walked up on her at a beer fest. I was halfway drinking. That could have gone weird in a weird situation. It could have been called street harassment too, had she not actually liked my swag and my way of advancing my smooth operator technique. So please help people who don't understand, especially nerds. Help them understand how to be more appropriate for all nerd kind. That's all I'm saying. All right? That'll be it for this week. And no, I probably went a little long that time. But the artwork took me 8 hours, so what do you want to say? Come see me about something if you got a problem. Come see me. Anyway, have a nice week. See you next Tuesday with another Speedpaint.
Like and subscribe, please. Thanks.
It's that no copyright beat. No copyright beat. Like and subscribe, bitch!